Okay, so in this video, I kind of wanted to go into adding some more logic to our tool. Right now, it's super simple. It can take in a variable for what we want to search for in terms of texture size and reduce it, given our second variable of what we want to reduce it to. But what if we want things to be a bit more complex? Um, let's say we want normal maps to be a fourth of the size of our diffuse texture, or we want masks to be half the size, or whatever. It's very arbitrary. That's kind of another thing about making editor utilities, is that they're very kind of specific to your particular project. So we're just going to add in some logic to kind of like auto switch things inside the tool. So I'm going to swap back over to Unreal and let's get started on it. So back here in our tool, we're going to open up the editor utility widget. And there's a few ways we could accomplish this. I didn't really like script this out. Let's first mess with the logic of it in the graph. Actually, let's take a look at some textures first. It's good to know like where you stand with your data to see what you can actually modify. So we're going to take a look at some of these. This chimney, sure. And yeah, we're still messing with textures right now. It's all very basic. But later on, we'll do more advanced stuff like messing with meshes or materials or, placing stuff in levels or modifying things in levels. But one thing at a time. Let's keep it simple for now. So this base color map, it's a 2K compression settings default. Let's use the compression settings as like a selector to modify how we're inputting our values, our variables. Granted, that's going to require your textures to be set up properly. Unreal does a pretty good job about selecting normal maps with compression settings normal map when you bring them in, which we can see here. Normal map BC5, world normal map texture group. Let's look at a mask like this. Let's see, this Orma mask. Opacity, roughness, metallic. Okay, see, there is a setting in here for masks, but this particular one is set to default BC1. So this is not exactly going to be foolproof. This one, for instance, is properly set to masks right here. Yeah, masks, no sRGB. So this is going to get into kind of one of the issues with building editor utilities. They're really great when they work, but they're not perfect because you're going to run into all kinds of edge cases where you may think your data is set up properly or your assets are set up properly, but they're just not. Years ago, I made an editor utility to convert thousands of materials into emissive because the game we're building requires all of our materials to be unlit instead of the default lit PBR workflow. And it worked for maybe 80% of them, which is not terrible, but we ran into a lot of issues of like messed up parent materials and all kinds of stuff. Today, I would have done things differently. But you really need to be careful about your data. Or be okay with the fact that you might break some stuff. And there's ways we can handle that. If we don't know what a texture type is, we could flag it to the user somehow, make a list. There's a lot of things we could do. But for the sake of just making the data work for us, what's available, we're going to... Let's just get our compression settings. And from this, we're going to use a selector, which is going to give us this big list here like this of the different compression settings. We have default BC1, which is what a lot of things that are default imported are going to be. Normal maps, which are normal maps. Masks, which hopefully all your masks are properly set as masks. If they are, this will work. If not, well, It won't. Which might be a great use case to go through and build another tool that we somehow figure out this thing's a mask, this is an actual base color, whatever, and we find ways to properly set our compression settings. Not going to do that yet, but you know, that's the whole thing about editor utilities. There's all kinds of stuff you can modify. So let's just start here. With our maximum texture size set there, we're going to just plug in this instead of our reducing size value. And from that, let's see, what do we want to do here? Let's just say we're going to take our start reducing size value, and we're going to take that and we're going to cut all of our normal maps in half of that original size. So let's just divide that original value by 2. And we'll plug that in just like that. And then we'll do the anything that's a default, we'll do the exact same thing. So if it's a base color, a diffuse, kind of color texture, we're going to have that be, if we're starting with 4096, we're going to take it down to 2048 for normal maps and the diffuse texture itself. For masks, let's just take it down to a quarter of the size. Now, there's various reasons you might want to do this. In our project in particular, we don't actually need masks most of the time, but because we get a lot of assets in the marketplace and they have like a lot of masks in them, we either need to rip them out or to not be destructive, we just want to reduce them down as much as possible. Again, all of the things you're going to do with editor utilities are going to be hyper project specific. So we're going to take this and reduce, for the sake of what we're doing here, just to show the logic of it, we're going to modify any mask texture to be 1/4 of the size of our reducing start value. So let's plug that in. We'll do the same thing for grayscale stuff, displacement maps, vector displacement, anything that isn't just a normal or default. We're going to leave HDRs alone, leave user interface alone, alphas, we'll leave that alone, distance fields. Yeah, we'll leave the rest of those alone. So now, I mean, this is relatively simple, what we've done here, but it should work. I haven't gone through and tested this in particular, and it's been a while since I've messed with these kind of things in particular, but we'll see what we find. Even more so, we could also flag to the user, hey, we found, these kinds of textures. So we could do something like, if it equals a HDR. Well, yeah, let's flag to the user, hey, we found an HDR, we found a user interface, we found an alpha, we found a distance field, HDR compressed, and just output the names of those textures just in the output log. Just so the user knows, hey, we found a bunch of textures that we would have reduced otherwise, but we didn't because they were this format. Also, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this or if you might know this. If something is 0 in the maximum texture size, it doesn't take it down to 0. It just uses what the default imported texture size is. So yeah, we're going to go through and just put a bunch of these in. And anything that is not a... let's just do anything that's not a grayscale, a mask, a normal or a default. We'll just plug all those in and have them return, hey, we found this texture. It's not one we expected. You're going to have all kinds of different texture maps, obviously, in your own projects. So yeah, we'll do HDR. Actually, we'll start here at the top. Displacement map. Vector. Might be faster actually to do this if it's not equal. It's fine, we'll do it this way. HDR, user interface, alpha, distance field, HDR compressed, BC7. Yeah, I really probably should have done it the other way, but it's fine. Let's take what we're doing here. Let's do a massive ore, actually. Yeah, this is a kind of dirty way to do this, I feel like. But it'll do what we're trying to do, which is just output, hey, I found a texture that I didn't expect or that I didn't modify. Which we don't really need to do this at all, frankly, but it adds a bit more logic to the tool. It gives us a hook later on if we find out, hey, displacement maps, we want them to be, you know, brought down to, you know, an eighth of the size. We want to open them to inspect them. There's a lot of things we could do. That's another fun one, is you can actually open an asset via an editor utility. So if you have, you know, 100 textures and you expect all of them to be normal maps or default, you know, diffuse maps, you could flag the tool to open up every single texture that is a user interface coded for compression settings. Granted, that could be very dangerous if there are a lot more of those than you could possibly expect. I've definitely opened up thousands of assets by accident before and crashed the engine, so be careful. Save often. Let's do an if off of this. So, if the compression... We're going to do this right after this, actually, because we don't want to transact the object if we're not doing anything with it. So if it's any of these objects, if it's not any of those, we know we're going to transact the object. If it is, we're just going to print out the texture name. Let's just do a print text, and let's do a format text into that. Could also do a print string. It's all the same. Print string and an append. This is slightly cleaner, but it doesn't really matter. Found an unexpected of compression settings. Compression. And we'll use this. If you don't know how to use format text, it's just open curly, close curly, and you get a nice variable you can plug right in there. And we'll just plug that compression setting directly in, if it'll let me. I think I gotta convert it to a string first. Enum to string, there we go, and then we can plug it right in and convert it to a text. Or not, that's fine. We can also do found an unexpected texture. What do we want to put the name? Let's just do named, and we'll do Y. So yeah, then we'll have the name of the actual texture itself. Actually, we want to get name, get object name. That should work. Might need display name. We'll find out. A lot of things are trial and error. At least that's how I do things. Sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it's right. Doesn't matter as long as you get to the final answer, I suppose. Alright, compile, save. This should work. Again, I haven't tested this like off camera. This is very much kind of an off-the-cuff kind of thing. We're completely ignoring our size to reduce to, which means maybe we should have done this inside of a asset action utility, or made like some new options inside of our widget here, like use box numbers, some kind of drop down to like use the box numbers, or a checkbox, or there's so many ways you can accomplish these kinds of things. You really kind of just gotta figure out what works best for your project. We might also want to get into like editor utility tasks at some point, which is a way to actually run the tasks asynchronously in the background instead of freezing your entire editor. Depending on how many assets you're working with, it may or may not actually be necessary anyway. So let's do recess texture. It's going to go through and save all that stuff, save all that package information. Let's see. Okay, let's just take a look at some of these. Okay, so we have a roughness occlusion. This is a mass, so it did probably get kicked down to 512. Base color kicked down to 1024. About a normal map. This got brought down half the size. Perfect. A quarter of the size, actually. Yeah, because we're doing quarter of size for normal maps. Cool, okay. I think that's actually done then. This has kind of been all over the place, but hopefully this makes sense. So, going over this once again here, the only real change is we're taking our default size to start reducing, just like we did in the previous videos, and instead of just plugging in our maximum texture size based on the reduced to value, we are just plugging that same value divided by 2 and 4 for masks or grayscale, normal map default, BC1. Checking it out, saving it, and then ending the transaction. Really, the point is you can do all kinds of logical operations based on data inside of the actual actor. I think that'll be it for this video. Pretty short, all things considered. I think, what am I right now, like 10 minutes? 26. Oh. Kind of lose track of time sometimes. So anyway, thanks for watching. I haven't actually asked for like comments or anything. If you have any ideas for like tools or whatever you want to see, let me know. And yeah, see you in the next one.